Canada. This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, and you're listening to Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, a.k.a. the Python Hyena. And folks, we have a lovely, beautiful, talented woman on the phone with us today. And like Caroline Munro, worked with Christopher Lee, fighting him off as a vampire. I have the lovely, the talented, the beautiful Veronica Carlson. How do you do, Veronica?
Well, very well after that introduction. I don't think I could do anything else to be. I'm doing very, very well. Thank you very much, Greg.
You're welcome. What an honor it is, you know. You've got an interesting past with these movies, and we were just talking there earlier. Caroline Munro, for example, I had her on a year ago, August, and she was just a delight. It was just honored to talk to her, and it was the Ray Harryhausen people that put me in touch with her, and it was such a thrill to talk to her.
She's one of the loveliest people I've known. I call her my sister, and she's like a sister to me. Years ago, and this is a long time ago, in Bray, we had a film convention at Bray Studios, and she was there, and I had not been in England for a while, and I was endlessly signing in the gardens, the beautiful gardens. And my parents were there, and so was my sister. And I couldn't have anything. I was so busy. So she took charge of my parents and took them upstairs to tea. She got father his sherry, mother her vodka and tonic, and set them beautiful canapes, and generally took care of them as if she were my sister. It was absolutely something I'll never forget, and they adored her. Well, who wouldn't? I mean, she's absolutely gorgeous, and she's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking to her, and I think one of the things that you both did that I gotta say lends to both of you is that you kept your hair long because it makes you look youthful.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
My husband. Yes, my husband always likes it long. I've been tempted to shear it off every now and then because it's unruly hair, but I really wouldn't know how else to wear my hair, so I just comb it back and get on with it. Otherwise, I don't want to be faffing with it all the time, but I'm lucky I've still got my hair, I suppose, in my advanced days.
Yeah.
At least I've got all my hair, and I haven't got any grey hair, which amazes me.
Yeah, I don't know whether Caroline has any or not, but she's still got...
If she did, I wouldn't say.
Well, she looks stunning.
I wouldn't notice anyway. I deliberately wouldn't notice.
She looks stunning nonetheless, so...
She's lovely, yes. She's just so gorgeous.
Yeah, but you've been in some interesting films going way back. We're going to start off. Speaking of... Ray Harryhausen, of course, Desmond Davis was the director of Clash of the Titans, which we celebrated the 35th anniversary when I had the Harryhausen people on here last year. And I just had the same guy back, John Walsh, back yesterday for another anniversary. So I've had good communication with the Harryhausen people. But Desmond Davis, of course, directed Clash of the Titans, but he also directed you and Smashing Time.
Oh my goodness, that's so far back. That was a one-night stand, really. And I went to get an outfit. I think I went to something very strange, the Orange Carrot or something. It was a strange little boutique, and the lady there made wonderful, outrageous fashion clothes. And I made me an outfit, so I was supposed to be a film star arriving at a premiere. It was great fun. And I met a very nice DJ there called Mike Lennox, who had a very, very great following at the time. I didn't keep in touch with him, unfortunately. But that was great fun.
Yeah, and it's one of those stories we've heard since the Broadway Melody in 1929. It's been recycled to death, but, you get some creative people behind it. It still works, and of course it's about the two women that want to make it in show business, and you got Rita Tashingham and Lynn Redgrave.
Yes, Rita Tashingham and Lynn Redgrave, that's right. Yeah, Rita Tashingham had those lovely, huge, large eyes. And what a fine actress, both wonderful actresses.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Sadly, of course, Lynn Redgrave's no longer with us.
Oh, she's gone, huh?
Oh, yes, she died of breast cancer.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And, of course, Michael York in that film, too, who go on to do Cabaret about, I think, 5 years later.
Oh, yes. I knew he wasn't with us. I didn't know when he passed away. There's some sad things, when you go down that road and you count the people that you've worked with or known that aren't here anymore. It gets a little bit depressing.
Actually,
move on.
Actually, Michael York is still with us.
Oh, Michael York is. Thank God for that.
Oh, yeah. I actually looked him up last night. He's, I won't say his age, but I guess he would say he's 39 and holding.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good for a lot of people.
But what was it like being in Smashing Time? Because it looks like a lot of fun.
That was the only thing I did in Smashing Time was make that entrance. I never, ever got to see any of the others. That was the only thing I did, was make that entrance. I never got to meet Lynn, and I didn't get to meet Rita. It was just a night shoot, one night stand.
Well, you went on to more than a one-night stand when you did Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, because you worked with the great Christopher Lee, who we recently lost, but boy, what an impression he made on the industry.
I know, he was spectacular. Well, I used to Skype off from college when the new Hammer movie came out. In fact, I wasn't the only one. We had a class with a professor, Mr. Shepherdson, I'll never forget. And I suggested to a friend of mine that we go and see the new Dracula movie. So we did. And in the intermission, because in those days they had a film that preceded the main feature, we looked around, the lights came up, we looked around, and to our horror, half the class was also in the theatre. They'd all decided to Skype off independently of each other. And then to our horror, Mr. Shepherdson stood up. He was in the theatre as well, and he said, I expect to see all of you. He said, when this film's over, and I don't expect, we felt so bad. And when we got back to college, he said, just remember, I passed my exams. You haven't. You get to pass yours. We never Skyped off again in his class anyway, but the Hammer films were so hard to resist, and I adored them. I absolutely worshipped Peter and Christopher, and along with a whole load of us back then.
And of course, Caroline Munro had made an appearance in Dracula A.D. So So
1971, wasn't it?
1972, which was the year I was born.
Oh dear.
That was the year I was born, 1972.
Oh my goodness. My first child was born in 76.
Oh wow, that's the same year my younger brother was born, 76.
Oh dear. But when people ask me how old my children are, I honestly don't recall their ages, but I always remember the year they were born.
Well, that's a start, you know.
Yeah. I just remember the year they were born. I don't count years like that. I never have. I never celebrated our anniversary with my husband. I always wondered why my mother was sending us a card on the 1st of March. I thought, what is this? It's not my birthday. It's not Sydney's birthday. I always forgot her anniversary. I don't count years. I just live.
You just live for the moment, huh?
Well, yeah.
What was it like working with Christopher Lee? I mean, that must have been just impressive. You've seen him in these Hammer films, and here you are on screen with him. Oh,
I know. I had a preconceived idea about Christopher, and it was so wrong, and I've learned never to have preconceived ideas because of Christopher. I thought he's bound to be aloof. I mean, the man is so gorgeous, he's so gifted, he's so famous, he's bound to be aloof and a bit snobbish. He's just the opposite. He was the kindest and most gentle, easygoing man he could possibly be. And sitting down at the long table where we did the reading of the script, all of us, Rupert Davis, and my mother, Marion Massey, and of course Michael Ripper, Barry Andrews. We were reading the script, and that was Frankenstein. That's right. We were all a group anyway, and he was the most easygoing guy, and I just thought, how wrong can I be about anybody? And then, of course, Hannah won the design award, the Queen's for industry.
Okay.
Yeah, that was wonderful. I happened to be there, and the Lord Lieutenant of Britain came with his wife, and Peter came, and everybody was there. And I was part of that, and of course, Barbara Ewing was. And talk about an entrance into a movie career. It was an amazing moment. All of it, the whole film was really. It was a very happy film. And I remember saying to Chris, when he was putting on his cloak, how beautiful the cloak was and how much I admired the way it moved. And I said, he said, it really is quite heavy. And I said, you don't make it look heavy, Chris. And he took it off and he put it round my shoulders, and I thought my legs were going to give way. Oh my God, it was so heavy. It must have weighed 20 pounds. It was extraordinary. And then my knees were shaking, and he took it off. He laughed. And of course, he had to wear those contact lenses. He did it with good grace, and they weren't comfortable. They were far from comfortable.
Yeah. This was your first major role, was it?
Absolutely, yes, it was. I was thrown in the deep end, so to speak. And I loved every minute of it. You know, when I wasn't working, I was watching on the set. I was trying to learn as much as I could. I wanted to be a part of it. I didn't want to sit in my dressing room.
No.
And we were supposed to get there at 7:30 in the morning. I always got there an hour earlier because I wanted to have hair and makeup done, not in a rushed way. And I remember getting face done, getting hair done, and Christopher coming in with his cheery self and getting his hair done and his makeup done. And all of a sudden, the whole place, all these little rooms, would be full of operatic voice, beautiful Italian operas being sung by Christopher, whose voice is splendid, absolutely extraordinary voice. And it echoed, and I thought, how wonderful is this? Here I am sitting in a makeup chair, or a hairdressing chair, whichever it was at the time, and being entertained royally by this wonderful, favorite man. Talk about, I couldn't wait to get to work in the morning, let's put it that way.
And of course, the film was directed by Freddie Francis, who you would also work.
He was wonderful. No, he was lovely. He knew I was nervous. He'd give me a big hug every morning. And I knew I threw a little hissy fit. They all had their chairs with their name on at the back, like you see it in the movies. And I didn't have one. And I got quite distressed about this. I thought, I haven't really arrived after all. And I said to Fred, he said, "You're right, darling." He said, "You look a bit thoughtful. What are you thinking about?" And I said, "Thinking I haven't got a special chair for me." He looked at me, laughed. And he got a chair with my name on it for me. And I felt quite happy after that. I felt like I belonged. But I didn't feel that I belonged until I got that chair. Silly, very childish. But I felt marvelous having got one. Well,
you were kind of like, one of the leads in the movie. So
yes, I was. Yes. I know. It's a silly story, and it's a silly thing that happened. But emotionally, it made me feel a bit insecure, because I think I was insecure anyway, getting such a role so quickly after college. I just couldn't believe it. And I just didn't need that little bit of shakiness. But Freddie coaxed me through so many things. And he suggested I didn't go to rushes because I'd pull myself to pieces on the screen. And you can't do this, darling, you mustn't come. Stay away from rushes. And then he said, when we were doing the scene with Christopher leaning over me about to kiss me, he said very seriously, "We want some eye acting, darling. A little bit of eye acting." There was always an edge of mirth on the set, underneath, that lightheartedness, but incredibly serious. Well, obviously you can tell by watching the movie how serious we took it. And it was filmed in 6 weeks, and first take, second take, third, you were really pushing your luck. They really expected you to be on the ball first time. But, inevitably there were camera snafus, or the gate hadn't been cleared, or a light exploded. There were those sort of things could be contended with. But the actors were supposed to do exactly right, make it right the first time. And we did our best. I know that Freddie, the scene where Maigret, what it was, Rupert Davis had a wonderful role as Maigret, a long-running series in Britain. But as my uncle, he came in and he gave me a bowl of soup. Well, I heard Freddie say, "Take a sip, darling," very quietly off camera. And I said, "Freddie," he didn't bring a spoon. So couldn't find a spoon. So when he came in, we arranged that I shouldn't be trying to drink the soup. I should just put it down. Silly things like that liven up the day and make you happy. And it's what, I don't know, just getting there in the morning was wonderful.
Did you attend the premiere for Dracula's Risen from the Grave? What was it? Yeah, what was it like?
I don't know. I must have done, mustn't I? It was always a very low-key affair. It was none of this grandiose, the red carpet thing that we see over here. It was much more low-key, a theatre in Piccadilly. The Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed one, I remember very much more than the Dracula one. I remember we went to France in the... why did we go to France? I don't know. It must have been a publicity thing. It was Christopher and his daughter and his wife, my stand-in and myself. Yeah, they took us to France, to Paris. We had a wonderful meal at a La Chair restaurant where the roof opened up. Oh, it was a beautiful place. No, the premiere I do remember was Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. And dear Peter Cushing, whom I love dearly, his wife came, Helen came, and she found great difficulty walking up all the stairs to the circle. I think she had emphysema. She had terrible breathing problems. She had great difficulty in breathing. And she was so gracious and so uncomplaining, and she congratulated me and how nice it was. It was a pleasure, really it was.
What was it like? What was like seeing yourself on screen?
Horrible. I've never liked it. I always could say, "Oh my God, I shouldn't have done that," or "I wish I had. I wish I'd done that. I could have done that so all the day." I don't know. I get very overwrought about that. I wish I could have done it all again, After that, so I know how to do it now. That's what I've learned. I know exactly what to do now. But no, Peter was so different from Christopher, and yet so much to say. They were both very old world gentlemen. Never swore. They were gentlemen. They were of the old school, like my father, really. And Peter was so gentle as well. I mean, here I am being such a novice to the industry, and I meet these two grand and great men who make me feel so loved and so safe and so secure. And two directors so far, so Jimmy Saxton was later, of course. Terence Fisher directed Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, and of course Freddie. Wonderful directors. Terry was so right for me when I read Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. Loved that movie. Loved making that movie. And oh gosh, Simon Ward. He's gone. I mean, poor Simon. He must. It was. I don't know. I think of these people meant so much in my career and so much in my life.
And yeah, you got to do a Dracula film, and you got to do a couple of Frankenstein movies. I know.
How lucky am I? This is wonderful.
You get to tangle with the best of the monsters.
Oh, those were the days. Well, our costumes were brilliant. I used to go to get fitted in Wardour Street, somewhere I don't remember the streets now. And I stand for ages where patient ladies would make my meat pleats and pin me up and measure it. Their costumes were gorgeous. And Hammer always used real jewelry. I mean, the amethyst brooch I wore in the Frankenstein movie was a real amethyst. It was absolutely very precious, very beautiful. And the jewelry I wore in the Dracula movie, the cross with rubies and pearls. It was all genuine. The jeweler was waiting to take him back when we finished the shoot. It was just, attention to detail. The boots, the button boots. We'd have to have the buttons. We had the corsets. We had all attention to detail to the nth degree. You had to wear corsets because it made your posture, as it was in those days. You didn't slouch and you didn't bend your back. You were upright. It's very, very uncomfortable too, I have to say. And it was fun. It was fun, and the hairdressers were wonderful, so gifted. I mean, all of them were so gifted. The set I used to love, before anyone else did get there, I used to try and get onto the set in the early hours before everything was opened up, just to breathe in the atmosphere that the set director had placed in that room, in that huge stage. And it truly was like stepping back 2 centuries. It was an amazing atmosphere. And on my own, I could just drink it all in. I would look at all the furniture and the detail of photographs. It was all genuine, beautiful, beautiful stuff. And the fabrics, the curtains and the drapes, as we say here. It was just a feast for the eyes every time. And then, of course, when the other people came in, the lighting people, and they illuminated it, oh, wow, then you took a really big intake of breath because you knew you'd just slipped through some kind of time warp. It was just, I loved that feeling. I loved that feeling that suddenly the whole world was just here and everything else had fallen away. And just for those hours of each day, it was, let's pretend, let's play. It was beautiful.
You mentioned Peter Cushing's. It's interesting because he went on to be in Star Wars, and Rogue One, a Star Wars story, came out last year, and it was a prequel to, it was actually a direct prequel to the Star Wars film he was in, and it connected right to the beginning of the Star Wars he was in. And I guess because he's passed away, they did some CGI, and we got his face on, did you see that?
No, I'm ashamed to say I did not, but I did do portraits of Peter. I've done several, and they've been published. And I have the temerity. Now, this shows you how Christopher really was. As I said, he was a very unassuming, gentle soul. I asked him to sit for me. I'd gone to art school. I graduated from college in 4 years. And I asked him to sit for me during his lunch hour. And he said, all right. Then we went into one of the rooms just off the set. And in 35 minutes, I did a sketch of him, a portrait of him, and I presented it to him. I thought, how did I have the nerve to do that? I look back on that, and I think I wouldn't have, my goodness, the nerve. But that shows you how approachable he was.
Oh, wow.
I know. And the portraits I've done of Peter, I did one for the church. They auctioned it to the church in Whitstable, and to help raise some money for a window for Sir Peter, for Sir, as Joyce Borton used to refer to him as, and his secretary, that is. And I was pleased to do that. His portraits have been in books about him, which I'm very proud of.
Now,
another portrait I did of him was at the Bray thing, the convention I was talking about.
Yeah.
I donated one for the Pancreatic Cancer Research Fund because, do you remember, Ralph Bates passed away of pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
And his wife, Virginia Weatherall, was there. And it went for about $1,000, and I was so happy because I just couldn't believe it. Wayne Kingsley bought it, and I was thrilled. But, Ralph was in the horror of Frankenstein.
Yeah. I was going to say, between the two Frankenstein films, which one did you like best?
The Frankenstein with Peter. I loved. I thought the world of Jimmy Saxton. He was a fun guy. I loved to be around him. Everybody did. He was full of fun. Unfortunately, he brought it to the set sometimes. He didn't have the reverence for Hannah that I did. I had a reverence for Hannah. And I think the fans of Hammer will understand what I'm saying when I say that. I mean, I really do. And Jimmy treated it very lightly, with a nudge, wink attitude, which I found was a sort of, a betrayal in its own way of Hammer. And he knew I felt this way, but you couldn't fault it as a director. You could not fault it. He would have lunch with, he and Ralph were as thick as thieves, and I would join them sometimes at lunch, and they would cake. I'd have to leave because, honestly, those two got together, and the jokes would go backwards and forwards. You couldn't eat for laughter, so I had to leave anyway, because they were like brothers, those two. But as soon as the lunch was finished, the few occasions I wasn't able to sit through the length of lunch with them, was now, no more laughter, we're going to set work time. And we'd go and we'd work. That's how he was. He absolutely dissociated all that hullabaloo from his professional self on the set. But he had fun on the set. I said to him one day, I might as well stay in this bed, rather than my stand in line in it and for half an hour while he liked it. Let me stay in the bed. And he hopped in beside me. He was just full of mischief. And he was just adorable. But he had this thing about a slight send-up of Hammer, which I just didn't like. I didn't want it to be remotely amusing. I wanted it to be very serious and like they always were, and believable. So, no, it wasn't my favorite one. And no, I didn't want to go to the premiere of that one because I felt that it wasn't Hammer, and I certainly didn't want to attend the Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed premiere, although I did. I didn't want to. In fact, I was in Rome doing Pussycat, Pussycat, I Love You.
Okay.
And I didn't want to come home. And my mother called me and said, Veronica, you've got to come home. I said, I'm not going to. I'm going to stay in Rome. And she said, you can't. You've got to come home. You've got to go to the premiere. And so I very begrudgingly flew home. And the reason I didn't want to go to that was they entered the last week of shooting. Terry Fisher came onto the set very flustered. Oh no, Jimmy Carreras flung open the set door and came in with a sheet of papers. And Terry looked up a bit astounded at the intrusion.
Okay.
And Jimmy was waving these papers above his head. I said, this has got to be put into the film. This is new to the film. We've got to... I've been told there's not enough sex in this movie. He waved the papers, and Terry Fisher was trying to speak but couldn't get the words out. Trying to say, what on earth are you talking about? We nearly finished shooting. The last week of shooting. How can you do this? You can't introduce a new scene. We've shot all of it. He tried to say this. Jimmy Carreras got so distressed because Jimmy was a very, very nice man. He threw the papers up into the air in despair. They all landed in disarray at everyone's feet. So we were all picking them up and trying to collect them and put them in order. And Terry started to read them, looked at everybody, and stormed out, having made it run. I thought, this is so dramatic. So he came back and he said, it's a sex scene, we've got to do sex. I said, what? I said, what are you talking about? Peter was horrified. And he said that, he's not a sexual man. He doesn't look at women as women. He looks at them as bodies for experimentation and the bits and pieces to use. And have to have effects in this film. So they introduced a rape scene in the last week of shooting. So I shot all my scenes. So I said to myself, if I had had this in sequence in the film, my reactions would have been so different all the way through the film. I'm going to look like an idiot in this film. That's what I felt. And I trembled to think of it. I felt it was such an opportunity. But they wanted to strip me from right down to my pubic bone. Peter was supposed to rip my nightgown off. And I said, no way, I'm going to do a nude scene. No way. It's not in my contract. I didn't. Oh, my God, I got so irate. So poor. The wardrobe came up, and they were trying to make me look like, they covered me up without covering me up. And everything looked, quite frankly, disgusting, and even ruder than being naked, more offensive. I can't do this. So Peter just did it and threw himself on top of me, so no one could say anything. And in my ear, but no one knows, he's saying, I'm sorry, darling, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Remember, it's not me. Please remember, it's not me. And that's what he kept saying in my ear. They cut, I heard Sophie say. And we all ran. And I was so distressed that Roger Moore came over. I worked with him on the thing. Roger heard about it. He was in the studios. And he came over and he sat on the bed. He was comforting me, but he was so sorry. And everyone was talking about it and how inappropriate it was, and inappropriate and unkindly, and it was just a horrible time. So no, I didn't know. I thought I'd look like an idiot in the my performance would be one thing. So that's the backstory of that.
And it was uncharacteristic to have that in a Frankenstein movie.
Yes,
yeah.
It shouldn't have been there. And we finished the shoot. There's one more week to shoot. That's all. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy. Poor Jimmy was on the hook for that. And of course, after that, the films that were coming in, well, every script had nudity in it, or sex, or some creepy thing happening. And I thought my time has come. I did some TV. I did some Private Eye and Randall and Hopkirk. I did some things after that. Vampira I did after that. And Pope David Niven's I was introduced to David Niven. I was wearing this costume, this silver long dress with huge bat-wing headdress on, very glamorous.
Yeah.
And they brought David over to meet me. And he said, and he stood on my toes. I mean, he stood on my toes. I'm saying that in capital letters because it hurt. So much so, I just bent down, as he was saying, sorry. And my head just poked him in the eye. So when I stood up, he had his left hand over his eye, his right eye, holding it shut, saying, oh. And then with my injured toe. And of course, all we could do was laugh. And so I said, hello, David. And then he said, no, Veronica Carlson. That was it. And then we danced. We had to dance together. But he wrote that lovely book, The Moon's the Balloon. And he was brilliant. Oh, such a funny man.
Yeah, Vampira takes you back again to the vampire genre, and of course worked with Clive Donners and David Niven and Teresa Graves.
Yes.
Kind of a bit of a parody on itself, huh?
Oh, it was. Yes, it was. I don't think I even watched the movie. I don't think I wanted to. It was just fun to do while it was there. It was all that tongue-in-cheek thing again, and I thought I'd always taken the genre so seriously. I wasn't as good at adapting to a new state of mind. And I should have been as an actress, but I wasn't. And that's so, well, can't be helped, can it?
Tell me about Pussycat, Pussycat, I Love You.
Yeah, that was funny. That was fun. I had a small scene in that with Ian McShane, he was a nice guy. And, oh God, Rome was so beautiful. I just love Rome. But anyway, that's another story. That's where I met my husband in Rome.
Yeah?
My husband, yes. I didn't want to meet him. Well, he was a married man, and I didn't want to meet him. I didn't see why he should want to meet me either. And I was very rude to him. I was rude to him for a whole year. And I didn't like him. I didn't want to know him. Didn't want to know him at all. I was having fun, heaven's sakes. And anyway, that's another story.
And of course,
and we were married for 42 years. That's another story.
Yeah, you guys have stayed together all that time. Like, you don't hear about that in today's Hollywood marriages. They're there and gone. But how did you two make that work?
Well, we had three. Well, we fell. I fell for him in the end, and fell hard. I've never fallen in love with anyone before. I've had lovely relationships that I've enjoyed and happy times indeed. I've known some wonderful people. They're very, very lucky. But I fell in love with this man, and then 2 years after we were married, we had our daughter in 76. Then I had a son in 79, and then another son in 81. You see, I remember the years.
Yeah.
And no, I don't know how old they are. In fact, I said to my older son, it's his birthday on the 6th of April, I said, he said, Mum, you know I'm not going to celebrate my birthday. I stopped after 30. So I said, well, let's celebrate the anniversary of your birth then, shall we, instead? And anyway, he's promised to come by and see me tomorrow. They're around me. I'm very lucky. My boys have started their air conditioning business, and they're doing awfully well. And they're doing awfully well. And of course, there's the name Love plays on it, because that is my married name. That's their name, Love. And they've said love is in the air, but of course it is. That's their slogan for that. And they've won an award already, best new business in the area. So it's Love HV and AC, HVAC, Love HVAC, and they're doing great. Very, very busy. Lots of air conditioning stuff to do here. Lots of new stores going up, changing, bowling alleys being changed. This is a shame. The island has changed since I moved here. It's gotten they're so busy, but it's a very beautiful area.
What do they think of your career as an actress? They have any favorite films that you've done?
Yes, I think they liked that Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed movie. Adam did a wonderful thing. He used to live in a house next door to us before he moved away, slightly further out, because he wanted a bigger home. And he invited his friends, his wife, his first wife. They put up a sheet over the garage door, and he showed the film Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed on Halloween night, in the night, and they got all kinds of chairs. All the people in the court came. We live in a court, so it's a small place. And a load of his friends from school, who I've known since they were 8 years old, they all call me their second mom. And we all watched Frank. He insisted with his arm around me that I stay and watch it. And we watched the movie, and I thought at that time, all I could think about was, thank God I didn't do a nude scene. Thank God I didn't do a nude scene. Thank God I didn't do a nude scene. And because he was so proud of me. And I thought of all these boys that I'd known since they were 8, and I was so grateful I'd kept my clothes on. Or being, or Peter had covered me up that time. And oh gosh, but it was a very happy time. Yes, my boys are proud of me. And I know my granddaughter, whom I absolutely adore, she came to me one day and she said, "Grandma, are you famous or something?" Because I don't talk about it. I don't talk to the children, grandchildren about it. She's 15 now, and she's such a beautiful young lady. Oh my God, it's scary, isn't it? As time goes by. Oh my God, yes. Oh, and I watched. I worked with Roger Lloyd Pack in that Spider's Web series, and I love to see these people that I've worked with on screen. He was in one of the Harry Potters, and of course John Hurt in The Ghoul. That was another wonderful movie.
Yeah, and you get to work with Freddie Francis again with that one.
Oh, I know. Oh, yes. Freddie and Kevin invited me to Pinewood with my husband to talk about The Ghoul, what I do it, and all of that. And then there might be a bar scene where I'm exposed naked to the back with my husband, because Sidney was there as well. We agreed to that, so all of that was fine. But then, of course, I worked with that lovely John Hurt, Gwen Watford, Freddie Francis again, and it was the most wonderful and awful time, because Peter, by now, he was a skeletal man. He was almost destroyed by his wife's passing.
Oh, yeah.
So changed. So changed. All the impish, the fun, we'd share a carton of milk together and have a drink. There's a picture of me with Peter drinking. I've got a straw, he's got a straw. We're having a glass of milk together. And oh my God, he used to just disappear to his dressing room after every scene. Just go to his dressing room, whereas before he'd stay and chat and rehearse lines with you. And I remember we had a scene to do where he had to do, always, I must tell you this, he always had a picture of Helen somewhere in the studio, on a set, whichever set he was working on. There'd be a very discreet photograph, and it would be Helen. And we had to do the scene, just standing by the fireplace he was, and there was Helen's photograph, and he had to speak about the death of his wife. It was the story in the film. So he picks up Helen's photograph and speaks of it, and of course, he starts to, oh dear, the tears. I had to steel myself to tell the story, I'm afraid. It was so hard to watch, and Freddie made him do that scene so many times. But in the end, Peter just broke down, and he walked off and said, "I'm sorry, dear man." He said, "I have to go to my room." And the tears were streaming down his face. He was totally broken, and he walked off the set. Now, the crew quietly they extinguished all the lights, but before they had, I saw them, the men, turn away, the cameraman, lighting cameraman, the assistant director, you know, all of them had tears in their eyes, and they all turned away. Everyone just walked off the set and just left it, and the silence was horrible. It was horrible, that silence. I've never heard a silence so loud. And I just sat there, and I didn't know where to put myself. I was trembling, and I just sat there. I didn't know what to do. That's my puppy, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. He agrees with me. It was a very bad time. He's very sympathetic. And no, it was a horrible time. The only reason I can assume that Freddie did it, made him do it so many times, maybe six times, was the fact that he could see so much good. There's so much pathos was coming over so well because Peter was in such anguish that he thought he'd capture this for sure. And I can see his point. But oh my goodness, it was a terrible prize. Terrible prize.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, you worked with some of the greats, Peter Cushing's, Christopher Lee, and of course you had some great women working with you, like Barbara Ewing and Kate O'Mara.
And Kate O'Mara.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a firebrand. She was. My goodness. And she's gone away. She's gone. I wanted her role. I wanted to be her so much in, I don't know. I thought she had the peachy role with Ralph in the horror Frankenstein. I want that. It's got spunk in it. That role has got spunk. I'd love to have spunk. It was, I don't look like a spunky guy, I suppose. But she was lovely. Great fun to be around. Great sense of humor. Very impish. Wonderful actress. Shakespeare.
Yeah. I got to ask, Stephen Joyner was the one that kind of hooked us together, and I was wondering how you come to meet Steve.
Oh, well, it's through Facebook, I'm sure, because Michael Reed, the man who runs my Facebook, who lives in Oregon, introduced me to Stephen via phone. I think it was last year. But there was a lot happening in Steve's life at the time. I think it was last year, I can't remember. But yes, and he promised to get back in touch. We have a lot in common. He seems an old soul, does Steve, and so we have a lot in common. Because he's quite a young man, but he's still an old soul. So I like that about him too. And he shared his love of the horror genre and his love of Peter and Christopher. Well, of course, in that case, I had something in common with him straight away, which I enjoyed. And I think we talked for 2 hours this morning here. He just wanted to say he was on his way to the doctor to get a checkup, and 2 hours later we were still chatting on the phone.
Yeah, I think I haven't met Stephen Joyner personally, but I think he added me on Facebook through an actress I had interviewed named Lisa Wilcox, and I accepted him because if Lisa friends with him, I'll trust him. And I noticed he had posted a lot of stuff that I had in common with him, in terms of his experiences. So I reached out to him this year, and he was my first interview of 2017, and he had introduced me to a lot of guests on my show. And I've been doing this podcast since 2015, and I've now officially, as of this year, done over 100 interviews. And
wow! Congratulations!
Oh yeah, I did 20 in 2015, and I did 48 last year. And this year, I know I'm approaching 40 as of right now, and I think I could probably get in 100 this year if I try hard enough. But
Well, I hope so. What a wonderful thing.
oh,
That's
I know.
wonderful.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and I love
Yeah.
introducing new audiences to these artists and the films that they were in. And Steve, of course, had put me in contact with Michael Reed and to connect with you. And I had Michael on the phone one night, and we chatted for I must say at least over an hour, and talked
Oh,
about.
yes, I believe that. Oh, he's such a person. I think he's wonderful. I love him. He's absolutely a superman. You
Yeah,
know, he's so long, and he's just adorable. He's the kindest soul. But you could speak to Martine Beswick. Have you spoken to her at all?
who is it?
And Martine Beswick, she did dinosaur movies with Hammer. Michael Career is. I don't know if you're into that kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh no, I absolutely sure.
Oh, yeah.
I would be. I'd be open.
She'll be at the convention that I go to. So.
What film was she in now that you had
I
mentioned?
don't think of the title, and I know the title. Oh my goodness, it's got dinosaurs in it, for heaven's sakes, and Raquel Welch.
Oh, I know what one you're talking about. 1 million BC.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That one, yes. And she has some lovely stories to tell about that.
Oh yeah, I should reach out to her. What'd you say the name again?
Martine Beswick. That's
But
Beswick, and the first name is Martine, Martine.
okay, because we just talked about 1 million BC last year for its anniversary when we talked about Clash of the Titans. I was with the Ray Harryhausen Foundation when I interviewed them and talked about Raquel Welch a little bit and the anniversary of that film as well. Yeah, I'll have to reach out to that person.
Oh yes, do please. If she'll be at the convention, I can mention you to her and then tell her all about you.
Yeah.
Send me a card. I can give her a card.
What's that?
I could give her your card. If you can mail me your card, I can get it to her. And if you call the convention, of course, they're there. But of course, it's so difficult to speak to people at conventions.
Is she on Facebook?
Do you know, I don't know. Because I don't use a computer, I'm illiterate about that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I bet she is. I bet I'm the only one that hasn't, not computer savvy.
No, Deborah Shelton isn't either. I interviewed her last year, and she's very old school. Very nice lady, though. But yeah. But I was going to say, though, I was talking to Michael Reed and talking about all the people he has met, and I was just wondering how you and he had come to meet each other.
Michael, I don't remember. I've just known him forever. I know I saw him in San Francisco. We met up in San Francisco a while ago, like a long time ago, maybe 10 years now. Yes. I just always knew him. One of those people, you get a friendship, you gain trust, and I can't speak highly enough of him. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I gotta say though, you got that convention coming up with Caroline. Is there any other conventions down the road that you're going to be involved in?
I've been invited to one, but I'm going to write to this gentleman. Invited. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Not much like going out and doing things. I wanted just to. Well, I had a lot of sorting out to do first, obviously, but I put things on hold for a while, and they have invited me, but I haven't confirmed it yet. But I think that's much later. I think that's in. I'm looking at the card. I'm looking at in June.
Okay.
It's a Monster Bash thing.
Okay.
But I haven't confirmed if I'm going to go there or not. I'll call him and see. I can always let you know.
Sure. Do you ever get anything like unique or interesting brought to you to sign at these conventions?
Do I say that again to you? I missed what you said.
When you go to these conventions, is there anything unusual or unique that fans bring you to sign?
No, they have, sometimes, no, they don't. They bring me books, obviously the Hammer books and things like that. Sometimes they have their own photographs. No, I haven't found anything unusual. I've found beautiful big posters that I've not seen before and things like that. But no, no, nothing unusual. Oh yes, a baseball. So I found a baseball once.
Caroline related a story saying that she's been asked to sign people's skin, and people go and they tattoo her autograph on their.
Oh my goodness, I've heard of that. I've signed T-shirts, but not skin. Oh my goodness, oh my, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was. She's not the only one that's mentioned that too. People will have them sign their skin and they'll tattoo it on them. I'm not that brave. I'm not a tattoo person, but
no, neither am I. I don't want to have a tattoo. Oh my goodness. Think about when the skin gets old and sort of wrinkled, how the tattoo will look.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, let's put ourselves off that sort. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was given a beautiful medallion by a U.S. Air Force gentleman. It's got Air Force One on it, Andrews Air Force Base.
Yeah.
And it's got Air Force One. It's a beautiful medallion, and it's very heavy. The gentleman from the U.S. Air Force had written to me maybe a couple of years prior to this, asking me, because they were doing an auction or something, would I send them some photographs to sign one or two, and I sent some. And he suddenly, one of the conventions, I didn't hear anything. I wrote a letter about my father because he was in the Air Force, the Royal Air Force, and he also later went on to, when he retired from the Air Force, he worked with the Concorde people on the flying test bed of the RB-211 engine as a consultant basis. And I wrote all this in the letter as well, accompanying the photograph. And suddenly I looked up at my table, and I looked at this immaculate Air Force person was standing in front of me, U.S. Air Force. I took my breath away. He was so smart, and I love to see the military because I was part of it for my whole life. And he handed me, he said he was the man who'd asked for the photograph. He thanked me for it very much. It was very helpful. It did good. It did a lot of good. And he loved the letter particularly. And he presented me with this medallion of Air Force One. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's got the American flag on it, and it's got the picture of the plane, the huge plane, the 747. It's absolutely lovely. I'm thinking of having it made into some kind of necklace, putting it as a medallion on a chain. But no, that's something, happy things like that happen, It makes you feel very special.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, Veronica, this has been fun having you on here. Like what an honor to chat.
I'm the one that's been honored, and I do appreciate that very much. That you really want to hear about the things that I've done. It's a great compliment. Thank you very much for inviting me on your show.
Oh, it was such an honor, and like I said, and I remember Michael Reed was saying to me, because he had saw some of my interviews on YouTube. I've got 50 of them right now, and on YouTube, and you're my 106th interview altogether.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
106. Okay.
Yeah.
Consider that a lucky number for now.
And I remember he said that when he noticed I'd interviewed Caroline Munro and Terry McMinn, he said, he said, Veronica's going to love that you talked to those people.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely. Especially Caroline. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so I had a wonderful time talking to them, and I got those both on YouTube, and it's just an honor and pleasure to connect with somebody as talented as you, and who's been in the business and has had such a spotlighted career, especially in the Hammer films. So
I was very lucky, wasn't I, for that short window of time. I had a special place for sure.
Yeah. I was just wondering if before you go, if you would mind doing a plug for my show.
Of course not. I'd be proud to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. just state your name, and you might want to write this down just so you get it. But
I've got a pen. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just state your name and say that you're listening to Greg Gilbert, of course, and my show's called Python's Paradise. Python like the snake.
Python's Paradise.
But, yeah, and we're in New Brunswick, Canada.
New Brunswick.
Yeah.
So if I say my name is Veronica Carlson, and you are listening to. Yes, but hang on, I've got your name here. I've got to get everything together. I've scattered to the four winds here. Oh, heaven's sakes. Oh, I've written everything down on my calendar. Hang on. I've got one eye on the dog as well, because he's being busy as well, more than he should be. I've written down... Where have I written it? Hang on. I've left it.
There we go, yeah.
Yeah, Greg Gilbert, I know that. Yes, yeah. Greg Gilbert. Greg Gilbert show entitled Python's Paradise, New Brunswick, Canada.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, New Brunswick. And that's all you would like me to say. Yes, I'll do that with pleasure.
Sure. Right now.
Yeah, okay. Hello, my name is Veronica Carlson. You are listening to Greg Gilbert's radio show entitled Python's Paradise, New Brunswick, Canada.
Veronica, it was such an honor and pleasure talking to you. And, when you get the chance, I like I said, I'd love an autograph picture.
I promise you I will do that. I'll sort one out right now.
Yeah, that would be so on. And when you go to the event and you see Caroline Monroe, you tell her I said hello.
You sure bet I will. Of course I will, with pleasure.
Yeah.
About you.
Yes, it's an honor knowing I got to talk to both of you.
I know. I tell her all about our interview. A pleasure it was to share some time with you.
It was absolute pleasure, absolutely. Well, Veronica, I'm going to let you go so you can tend to your dog.
Yes, I know. He's dancing around my feet. Yes, I'll love and leave you, Steve. Just kidding. I was speaking to Steve earlier, and I just, I'm looking forward to speaking to him at a later date.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He was introduced me to you, so I'm very, very happy about them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right. What a delight. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of your show.
Absolutely. And, when this is done, like I said, I'll get it out to you. Yeah. I might even send it to you through Michael Reed.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Well, yes, I can give you my address. I don't mind that. It's up to you. I don't mind what you do. Yeah. But if it's easier to send it to Michael, by all means. We're always sending things backwards and forwards.
Well, I could. The problem with your address is I'm right now. I'm recording, and I don't want you to put that over the air.
I see. I thought you were. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's enough then. We'll talk to you another time.
Yeah. Well, God bless you, and thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you too, and all your listeners.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, sir.